March 20th, 2025 Plan Commission. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Crumpton?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Mr. Orlando?
Here.
Mr. Perez? Ms. Radakovich?
Here.
Ms. Rohr?
Here.
Mr. Turk?
Here.
Chairman Kella?
Here.
Okay, first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the Plan Commission meeting minutes for February 20th, 2025?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Crumpton?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Orlando?
Aye.
Ms. Radakovich?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Turk?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Chairman Kella?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is citizens to be heard on agenda items. This section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding agenda items and are allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. It is not a question and answer period, and staff and Plan Commission members do not generally respond to public comments. Please note that you're welcome to make public comment right now. We'll also take public comment when the case of interest is called. You can if you'd like to.
My name is Maria Lech.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
We do.
State your name and address, please.
Maria Lech, 2302 Gulfview Drive, Joliet.
12600 South Wolf Road, Palos Park, Illinois. I am her friend.
Okay.
Okay. We are here on, I think it's the Prairie View, the new, the approval of the new development that got approved on Tuesday. And we were told that today we would be able to see the final plans and I guess the approval of the final plans.
Correct.
And we are just here because we really would not want them to be approved due to the fact that there's a parcel of land that she is in court as owner for adverse possession, and it would affect the line of trees that's there that more than likely will be removed. So that's why we are here. We really don't want it to be approved. And she has, you know, a little plat of survey here to show you what we're speaking of. And the other thing is that on Tuesday night, we found out that the mayor is the one that is really suing Ms. Lech, okay? And that he is involved with the adverse possession because she was not aware, we were not aware that he is the owner of the property. So that's why we feel that we really would not want these plans to be approved. I mean, you know, we haven't seen the final plans, so that's our concern.
And also, we're not supposed to ask questions, but how can something be approved if strip of the land is in court? And I'm not gonna move even because they were the first one, mayor was the first one who sued me. They opened the lawsuit against me. So I did the lawsuit for adverse possession. And I didn't knew this is the mayor of Joliet is involved in it. My lawyer is not gonna be my lawyer anymore because he told me to back up because I'm dealing with two powerful people and it's gonna cost me a fortune. And even I go to trial, I won't be able to win with those people. And I have witnesses to what the lawyer said to me several times. So I'm in the process for the new lawyer and I wanna go to trial. And I will try to move the trial completely away from this area where one hand washes the other. Okay? That's my Polish say. That's how my parents taught me. If you too close in little circle, one hand washes the other. So I will be moving my case to wherever. It's gonna take forever, and I have the drawing, what they sent me. I don't know who is them they anymore. Because person used to call me and telling me he's the only one owner and I should move out. Nobody ever mentioned the mayor. So now we're gonna be in a fight.
Mr. Chair, I just want to point out that the 4 minutes is up.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to make one comment. On Tuesday evening after the meeting, the mayor did come and talk to us because they are offering a portion of that strip. And, we showed him, just, that's fine, and it's just to the front that is the issue. And he said that he would speak with his partner and they'd get back to us. As of right now, nobody has called us, okay? But we just wanted you to be aware of this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
State your name and address, please.
Alan, 2914 Vivian Ridge Drive. Also gonna talk about the Prairie Landing. It's funny, I've talked to some of my neighbors. We're here for the first meeting that was postponed, and we're told that we're gonna get letters telling us when the next meeting, the one that she went to, but all of us did not get notification that there was gonna be a meeting that day. It's kind of funny, and it's kind of weird how sneaky they're doing this. It just seems that Mr. Darcy is pushing this agenda through without having the neighbors being informed and letting us know so we can come to these meetings. I found out about this meeting because of Maria. There's a lot of issues. Just give her her land that she wants. She's been taking care of it for over 20, 30 years. And that's what adverse possession is entitled to when you do that. That being said, I'm here also to find out what the plans are, because a lot of us at the Picardy subdivision are worried about the flooding issues. And I actually took a video of the storm that happened just the other night, and you can see a ton of water just coming through from the other field coming in. And we have a little, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's a little a trench with a sewer line that goes to the new subdivision that they want to build. And just like they have at, I think it's Twin Oaks. In Twin Oaks, they have, behind the houses, they have a little trench with concrete, and it disperses the water over to another section. So I believe the plans that they had in the first meeting, showing that they're gonna surround Mr. Darcy's area with all this, water retention area, but nothing on the far, the northeast of the division. And then now they're changing the blueprints, but I'm just here to see what the blueprints are and the concerns of that, because I know once they built this new subdivision, pretty much Picardy is gonna be screwed, because they're gonna be 10 levels of different elevations, and they're gonna be higher than us, and it's just gonna flood us out. And I just wanna see what is gonna be the, how are you guys gonna deal with if we start getting flooded because of all that? And I know the engineers are saying that the highest elevation in the first meeting, the one I went to, was on the northeast of the building. That's where the highest point is, and it goes down, and that's how they figured their blueprints out. But I mean, it's kind of sneaky how you guys are not even letting us know when these meetings are. You postponed it, and then now that's why it's empty. The first one, we were all here as neighbors, fighting for this, and you guys just didn't care and didn't notify us. And I guess that's gonna count on the election day. I'm hoping we're going to get rid of Darcy.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address, please.
David Simeon, 2251 Verdun Drive, also in concern of the Prairie Landing subdivision. I live at the southwest corner, or southeast corner of the Picardy subdivision, which is particularly notable because it is the lowest point in elevation in that general region. And so all of the storm and rain runoff from the Heron family farm to the east of Picardy and Prairie Landing runs right into our little end of the road there. And that is where a retention pond is located. However, we have not seen any adequate plans in the event that the D.H. Horton cannot get some sort of, cannot make a deal with the Heron family farm to implement proper sewer water detention in that area. I would also like to second the previous comments that we were not adequately notified of any of the previous meetings, other than having to look them up ourselves on the Joliet Agenda's website. And I feel like in general that we are being left in the dark without much of a say-so in this whole matter. As I was present here on Tuesday to see the new agenda for that, and also I watched the online session yesterday of the preliminary vote get passed through unanimously. And so I would just like to stress that I feel that, again, there should be some sort of backup plan in the event that D.H. Horton is not able to properly cooperate with the Heron family farm to implement flooding controls. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other public comments at this time?
Remember, we vote.
Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to,
Oh, raise your hand.
oh, go ahead.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address, please.
My name is Mary Simeon. I live at 2251 Verdun Drive in Joliet, Illinois, 60435, in the Picardy subdivision.
Okay. You get.
So that was my son. He got down here before me. I've been coming to the meetings since they first called them. Our concern primarily is the flooding that we have experienced at the end of Vimy Ridge and Verdun Drive, which will be affected greatly by the new subdivision coming in. Came to the meeting on the 17th and spoke again with D.H. Horton, Greg Ruddy. I've been in contact with Sean Mikos and Helen Miller, voicing these concerns since they originally came up. I was happy to hear that there was some progress supposedly between the developer, D.H. Horton, agreeing to try to work with the owner, or what I understand now is a broker, that owns the Heron family farm, which is the east farm field that where our street dead ends into, where a lot of the water is coming out of, but the other water is coming out of, the field that is being developed. I live directly across the street from where the only, I call it a retention pond. I'm not sure exactly how you guys categorize it. But I have had my basement flooded severely to the tune of $30,000, where I had to gut my whole basement twice because flooding issues where the retention pond, and because Picardy subdivision runs from north to south, I'm sort of at the south end, and where they're building, where the retention pond is across the street, they're building there. So I'm saying around 5 years ago, the city finally came out after many calls, and they did something which helped, because it hasn't come up over the street from the retention pond. However, we get severe flooding that is a runoff from where the heron farm is. My question when I came to the last city council meeting was, okay, that's great that they're trying to make a deal with whoever owns the Heron family farm, and I've done a lot of research. Like, apparently this Alice Heron is 105 and still alive in Salt Lake City. It's been passed down through family, but someone bought that property in 2010. I don't know if it included the farm field, so I'm not sure if what I was told at the last meeting is really accurate. And if they cannot make a deal with the broker that is now handling it, supposedly, what is the city's contingency plan? Because I've been there 24 years, but I have neighbors that have been there much longer. That subdivision was built in 1990. That's why I moved there. Went through this with another house where I bought a nice quiet area and they developed it. It was not fun. So we're about to experience losing everything. Possible flooding. All our wildlife is going to be gone. The peace and quiet, all we hear is crickets. And,
Okay.
I mean,
Your
that's
time-
my subject. What do we do?
You want to finish up? Your 4 minutes are up here, so if you can wrap up real
So
quick.
I just want to make sure that the planning commission, I know this is the final PUD that's coming through you guys now, that you guys will address what the issues were at the last preliminary city council. Next it goes to city council for full approval. So I just want to make sure that all of our concerns, including dust, dirt, all that other stuff, is going to be handled properly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other citizens to be heard on agenda items at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to old business public hearing. We have PUD-13-24, final plan unit development of Prairie Landing subdivision. The applicant is D.R. Horton. Status of the applicant is contract purchaser and developer. The owner is Westside Joliet RE LLC. Want to make a note that Mayor Darcy does have a business interest in this ownership group. Requested action, approval of the final plan unit development of Prairie Landing. Purpose to allow development of a 120-lot residential subdivision. The existing zoning is R2 single-family residential. Locations 2200 Essington Road. Size of the subject property is 44 acres, and the existing land use is undeveloped. Under surrounding land use and zoning, to the north is residential Picardy subdivision, R2 single-family residential. To the south, residential Warwick 5 subdivision, R2 single-family residential. To the east, agricultural, undeveloped, unincorporated Will County A1 agricultural. And to the west, commercial, a self-storage facility and car dealership, B3 general business. Under site history, the 44-acre subject site is located on the east side of Essington Road, with the bulk of the site to the east of the businesses at 2000 to 2100 Essington Road. A strip of the property at its northwest corner connects the site to Essington Road across from the intersection with Old Castle Road and the Wexford subdivision. Site was annexed in 1973 along with the surrounding land east of Essington Road and north of Theodore Street. In 1993, the property was reclassified to its current R2 single-family residential zoning that was never recorded or built. Recently, the subject property was included as lots 4 and 5 of the preliminary plat of the Westside Joliet Real Estate LLC subdivision, which was approved in 2021. Unit 1 of that subdivision was recorded in 21 2021 includes 3 commercial lots, lots 1, 2, and 3, adjacent to the northwest side of the site. Lots 4 and 5 were never recorded, and the preliminary plat has since expired. Storm detention for the 3 lots in Unit 1 is located on the subject parcel, and stormwater management easements for this were recorded in September of 2021. At their meeting on December 19, 2024, the Plan Commission recommended approval of the preliminary plan unit development of Prairie Landing subdivision and the associated zoning reclassification of the past R4 multifamily residential and B3 general business zoning to R4 single-family residential zoning. This petition was heard by the City Council earlier this week and was passed to rezone the entire site to R2 single-family residential zoning. Under special information, the final planned unit development of Prairie Landing subdivision consists of 120 single-family lots on approximately 44 acres. The proposed lots will be built to R2 zoning requirements, which include a minimum lot area of 7,500 square feet. The lots are organized around a main road, which is accessed from Essington Road. Subdivision includes a small park lot and multiple storm detention areas. The proposed house plans include 3 models with 10 total elevations. The houses will be 2 stories and approximately 2,000 to 2,600 square feet, with 4 to 5 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, and 2 car attached garages. The petitioner is requesting a variation from the residential design standards, which require 50% of the front elevations of at least 50% of the detached single-family dwelling units to be comprised of brick or stone. The proposed elevations will have at least 25% brick or stone on 100% of the dwelling units. The attached elevations include between 25% and 41% brick or stone, with an average of 34%. Staff supports this variance given the design of the proposed elevations, which are comparable to existing houses in nearby subdivisions. Subdivision will have a main access road, currently titled Road A, off Essington Road, along with interior streets that feed back into the main street. Road A, which runs east-west across the site, is designed to connect the undeveloped site to the east if that were ever developed. Road A will intersect with Essington Road in alignment with Old Castle Road on the west side. A traffic signal at this intersection is not warranted at this time. The intersection will be designed to accommodate a traffic signal if that were ever needed in the future. All streets within the subdivision will be public streets to be dedicated to the city. The petitioner is requesting a variance from the Public Works Construction Ordinance to allow local streets with a 60-foot right-of-way instead of a 66-foot right-of-way. The developer has proposed a 15-foot public utility easement in the front yard of all lots so that main utilities such as gas, electric, and communications can locate in this area instead of within the right-of-way. The main road, Road A, will have the required right-of-way width of 66 feet. The petitioner has submitted a landscape plan and tree survey and preservation plan for the site. The landscaping plan includes plant materials around the storm detention ponds, parkway trees along the streets, and additional landscaping near the entrance sign. The tree survey shows that some of the existing trees on the site will remain, but most will be removed. The developer will need to replace or pay into the tree bank for any of the trees of acceptable species that are removed as required by the Unified Tree Ordinance. The engineering plans for the development will meet the requirements of the city's stormwater ordinance and will adequately address the stormwater for the entire subject site. At the Plan Commission meeting on December 19, 2024, residents from Picardy subdivision to the north of the development site presented information on existing flooding issues on Vimy Ridge Drive at the southeast corner of Picardy, which is adjacent to the northeast corner of the site. The existing condition is not due to any existing conditions on the subject site, nor due to the proposed subdivision. City staff requested that the developer explore possible modifications to their proposed stormwater infrastructure that could help alleviate this issue. The developer is agreeable to this and has updated their plans accordingly to include additional stormwater infrastructure on the unincorporated Heron Farm parcel adjacent to the subject site and Picardy. The development does not own that adjacent parcel and would need to obtain approval from the Heron Farm property owner. The developer will continue to work with city staff and the Heron Farm owner and will install additional infrastructure if they are able to obtain the necessary approvals and easements. The attached project narrative, included in your packet, outlines the phasing, financial, and marketing plan for the development. The development will be completed in one phase with full build-out projected to be completed within approximately 3 years. The development includes a 0.6 acre park site located across from Road B to be dedicated to the Plainfield Park District. The developer will also provide the Park District with a cash contribution in lieu of land dedication in the amount of $260,443.75 per their agreement. The local school district, Plainfield Community Consolidated School District 202, has indicated that their schools are presently capable of accommodating potential enrollment from the proposed development. Public improvements, water and sewer connection fees, school donation fees, and development impact fees will be required for this subdivision. The developer presented this proposal to the city's Land Use and Economic Development Committee on November 25, 2024. The developer also held a neighborhood meeting for residents of the adjacent subdivisions on December 16, 2024. Under analysis, approval of the final plan new development of Prairie Landing subdivision will allow the development of a 120-lot residential subdivision with R2 single-family residential zoning. The development will be built in conformance with the proposed elevations and landscaping plan, and that concludes staff's report.
May we have the petitioner, please?
Good
Do
afternoon.
you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, state your name and address, please.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Steve Bauer. I'm an attorney and entitlements manager with DR Horton Inc. Midwest, which is the contract purchaser. The address is 1750 East Gulf Road, Suite 925, Schaumburg, Illinois, 60173.
So anything to add to what Ray said?
So unlike when I was last before the commission on December 19th of 2024, I do not have a robust presentation that I would like to make to you this evening. Of course, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Just a couple of things I would like to mention. First and foremost, as you know, the purpose of this hearing is for final PUD approval, and as you may know, that necessitates substantial compliance with the preliminary PUD. That is dictated by section 3.35 of the city subdivision regulations, and as I believe you have just now heard from staff, the plan that's before you now seeking final approval is in fact in substantial compliance. As the commission may also recall, especially in light of some of the public comment this afternoon, the majority of the comments received from the public concerning any level of concern generally, in my opinion, can be placed into two buckets, one of which being stormwater management, the other of which being tree preservation. So as it relates to stormwater management, there's just a couple of things I would like to call to your attention. The first is, as Mr. Heitner referenced, we have, in response to city request, agreed to install some off-site storm sewer infrastructure, which can generally be seen in the top right corner of the slide before you at this time. That is on unincorporated property, generally known as the Heron Farm property, and it involves, among other things, about 210 linear feet of 10-inch reinforced concrete pipe that will involve both a temporary easement to allow the installation as well as a permanent easement to afford that infrastructure to remain in place and ultimately be able to be modified as the city may see fit. Secondly, with regard to stormwater management, I would like to call to your attention that this plan, again, if you focus on the top portion of the subject property, meaning the northern boundary of the property, you will see what look like a series of circles. There are a total of 14 storm structures between the eastern boundary of the subject property and Gulfview Drive. That is in comparison to a total of 16 lots in Picardy, the community to the north. So again, I'm saying that there's nearly one storm structure for each of the 16 lots that's abutting this development. The purpose of those storm structures is to capture stormwater that is flowing from Picardy onto Prairie Landing. And Prairie Landing would not be able to be developed in the absence of those storm structures. So in the end, those storm structures will be beneficial to both Prairie Landing as well as to the Picardy residents. Also, I neglected to mention that with respect to the off-site storm sewer infrastructure that will be constructed in the Heron property, the purpose of that infrastructure will be to capture an approximately 40-acre watershed that flows generally northeast to southwest from that unincorporated Heron Farm property to what is essentially the eastern terminus of Vimy Ridge Drive. And as a consequence, water, and our design engineer could testify to this, water has, for the entire time that Picardy has been built, flowed from the Heron Farm property, again, the large unincorporated farm field to the east of Picardy, down the Vimy Ridge property, and then ultimately inundated portions of the Picardy property as a whole. Again, the purpose of this off-site infrastructure is to divert that stormwater from ever even entering the Picardy subdivision, which has nothing to do with Prairie Landing, but in the spirit of cooperation, we have agreed to provide that infrastructure. Lastly, with respect to the other bucket of concerns expressed by the public throughout this process, that is, again, in relation to tree removal, I want to call to the Commission's attention that in conjunction with the final plan approval for Prairie Landing, there will be a total of 130 trees preserved, 603 trees added, as well as 1,156 shrubs. So in total, exclusive of perennials and native grasses, 1,759 new landscape plantings. That's all I have. I'm happy to take any questions the Commission may have.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, just a couple. Ray, our staff has went over the engineering on this and feel that there's adequate storm retention for that area.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, and with the added changes the developer has made, it's more so compensates for any problems there may be.
Yeah. Sean, do you want to chime in on stormwater?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the second part of that question. Can you?
You know, in the event that there is this added protection normally the developer is adding that then the city would normally request?
No, you're talking about the storm sewer in particular going to the northeast to help capture some of that. That's a improvement that, with some of the issues that have come up along Vimy Ridge, was asked to be put in, but not normally something that a developer would have to include.
Okay. And my other question was, as far as the trees, is that the trees that were in there are they on an easement now, or are they on the property line, or the ones that I think it was the first speaker asked about? Yeah.
So all of the trees that Ms. Leck is concerned with are located on the subject property, the development site.
Okay.
As she likely has explained, she has some level of concern. Obviously, I can't speak for her. She has some level of concern with her belief that she has a right to those trees, despite the fact that they're located on the development site. And as a consequence, she has had an ongoing dispute with the current property owner, which is not D.R. Horton.
Okay. All right, thank you.
But needless to say, no trees off of this site will be removed. We don't have the right to do so, nor do we have the need to
So
do
those trees will stay there then? The ones-
Trees off of this site will stay there.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
I got a
Yes.
question. I don't know if you can answer it or not. I'm just looking at this plan, as you mentioned about the additional storm structures on the north. Did you add, do you know how many were originally in? Because there's a lot more there from the original plan, if I remember correctly.
So I do recall from the December 19th Plan Commission meeting that there were, I am certain I stated something like 11 storm structures along that north property line. As I said this afternoon, there are now 14 specifically between the stub of Gulfview Drive at the north property line, moving then east to the eastern boundary of the property. I can't tell you that when I made the statement at the December 19th meeting that I was counting all the way to Gulfview Drive.
Sure.
But in more, I guess, specific response to your question, there has been some level of alteration to those storm structures, not necessarily because of any concern as to a deficiency in the capability of the previous design, but really as a result of the addition of that northeastern offsite infrastructure that required some modification primarily along the northeastern end of the site.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I do have a question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, is there an agreement currently between Huron Farm for this infrastructure, stormwater infrastructure? And what specifically is that stormwater infrastructure?
What will it entail?
Yeah.
Okay, so in response to your first question, we do have written authorization from the property ownership of the Heron Farm property. That obviously needs to be formalized into a specific grant of easement. We've asked the city for specific direction as to what form that should take. We received that direction last Friday, and so the city ultimately will receive a grant of easement, confirming that it's in a form acceptable to the city, which ultimately then, of course, would have to be signed by the Heron property ownership. In response to your second question, my recollection is that I know definitively it's approximately 210 linear feet of reinforced concrete pipe. I believe I said earlier that it's 10 inches, it may even be 30 inches. Either way, it's sizable diameter pipe designed specifically to capture stormwater that would otherwise be flowing from the Heron Farm property onto the Picardy property, and again, really has nothing to do whatsoever with Prairie Landing. We're just seeking to resolve a concern that we understand has been a problem for decades, and ultimately now have the ability for the benefit of the Picardy residents to resolve because of the proposed development of the Prairie Landing site, which would divert that water from, as I said earlier, the eastern terminus of Inmere Ridge Drive all the way down to the large basin in the southwest corner of the Prairie Landing property.
Okay, and I just want to verify, it's hard to read these watersheds when there's not color and it's just the lines.
Of course.
But it's looking as if this really truly doesn't benefit the Prairie Landing subdivision. This is specifically for the other subdivision. It's going to be catching that watershed water. Is that correct?
Unquestionably.
Yeah.
My question was simply if, I know one of the questions that was asked earlier, if by chance the grant of easement with the Heron Farm, if something happens where it does not go through, it's not finalized, do you all have a contingency plan?
So the short answer is not really, but the reality is the Picardy residents will be no worse off without that infrastructure than they are today. Because again, nothing that's occurring or proposed to occur on the Prairie Landing property will result in stormwater being diverted to the Picardy property. Like I said earlier, it's the exact opposite. As I speak today, water is flowing from the backyards of the Picardy property, specifically the backyards of the Picardy property, onto the Prairie Landing property. That will, of course, continue to be the case. And then those storm structures that I referred to earlier, those 14 storm structures, will capture that water in a way that is obviously not being accomplished now. And then any additional stormwater coming from Prairie Landing itself that could otherwise be draining toward the Picardy property will also be captured by those same storm structures. In reality, from a topographic perspective, the Picardy property is at a higher elevation than the Prairie Landing property, and that won't change. So it's not physically possible for water to be diverted from the Prairie Landing property to the Picardy property.
And staff, in your expert opinion, you can substantiate that?
You want me?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, the concept of the water flowing from the northeast to the southwest is concurrent with what we kind of see. The reason that the detention basin is on the southwest corner of the property in question is because that is generally the low point and the outlet of where the stormwater for the entire area is going to come out of, especially this subdivision.
Okay.
How about the elevation? You said about the elevation, it's never going to change. Are we going to stay high? Our construction, I've never seen that.
And I still don't believe we're higher because it comes over the road and it comes out there. We are at 4.0.
All right.
The elevation that it runs through.
You had your-
What I can tell you is that what I just testified to comes specifically from the design engineer for this project. He's obviously not here, but I'm relaying what he has identified as being the case.
Thank you. Any more questions from the commission? Hearing none. Any follow-up questions from the audience? Make it quick. Do you want to come up? Yes, you
Yes.
do.
Well, the state.
You just state your name and address again.
Alan, 2914 Vimy Ridge Drive. He just said under oath that the elevation's not gonna change, that we're gonna stay higher. But
Correct.
where I'm at, it's at the lowest point. Where Maria is at, that's the lowest point. I work construction, I doubt that we're gonna be higher than theirs, because that's a huge, big chunk of land. They're not gonna dig and get rid of that dirt and then stay low.
No, I think what he's saying is that your subdivision won't be touched. Whatever the elevation is at now, it's gonna stay.
Oh, yeah, but our concern was that they're gonna build higher, and
No.
all that's gonna seep in.
No, they're gonna be lower than you. So,
I doubt it.
yeah.
You can't change elevation.
Yeah, they got higher, yeah, I know.
So to the extent that it's helpful, let me just clarify. My statement was specifically with respect to the contiguity of the proposed Prairie Landing subdivision at the north property line, which is the south boundary line of the Pickering subdivision. At that point is what I'm referring to with regard to topographic condition.
Correct. May I come up, please? Just state your name and address again real quick.
Mary Simeon, 2251 Verdon Drive, Picardy subdivision, Joliet, Illinois. So, I have a lot of things that I don't agree with what they're saying. First of all, if they're so much higher, why is all that water running into all the backyards on Vimy Ridge? A lot of Picardy isn't even going to be bothered by this. But the few of us that are at the very lowest end, which is still lower than what they are because they have the retention. I live directly across the street from the only little retention pond there is. I've had my basement flooded twice. We have 6 storm sewers. They have caved in like sinkholes because we have so much runoff. There's no way the water can keep up. Whether that be the city's problem or whatever. The city did come out about 5 years ago and because everybody was so upset, everybody was getting flooded, would flood at my end and go all the way to Gulfview. You could see people lined up on every side of the street with all their belongings out on the street. Finally, someone called Channel Action 7 and we got something done. I don't know what they did, but since then, about 4 or 5 years ago, it hasn't come over the retention pond. But now my concern is that once they start building, we're going to lose whatever vegetation is there. And if you do an aerial view, if you look at that property back there, you can see where the water runs. It runs towards us. So for them to say that we're higher is ridiculous. I am at the lowest point. I've had to put drain systems into my yard so it comes out of my yard and doesn't flood my yard. What if they do not get a deal with Heron? Okay, there's no contingency plan, and now what should be burned or tied in or whatever is going to make it worse. We're going to go through 2 to 3 years of them leveling all the vegetation. We have wildlife back there. It's so quiet, which is why we live there. You know I can't do anything about that, but it's going to make our property values go down because it brought me to tears the other night. I have the doors open, all you hear is crickets. Now we're going to have 2 years of dust, dirt, mud possibly running into our sewer systems. Not just water, but what if it's mud? I mean, we have no backup plan. And the fact that our mayor has a financial interest in this, I asked this last time, who owns this LLC? It comes down to the mayor and one other person. When I looked it up, it came to a house. We talked about this. It's Calanthus, one other gentleman. They eased over it and said, oh, this guy has a little bit more ownership than the mayor. Our mayor should be concerned with his constituents. I pay almost $10,000 in taxes. We need to know that the planning commission and the city council is going to have our backs. We can't stop this from going in. It's not something we want. We just want to make sure they're going to do it right and that they're going to not just push this through. It already went through city council. We're here now. We just want to make sure you guys are looking at everything, okay? Like, they're making it sound like they're heroes about making this deal with the Heron firm, but what if that doesn't go through? And then we have all this runoff and mud. I took a video today of the water flowing out of there. Every time it rains horrible, I have to stress out. At least
Excuse
for
me,
the last
that's-
5 years, it hasn't happened.
We're
What are we
at
gonna
4
do?
minutes now.
All right, thank
If you
you.
could wrap up, please.
My wrap up is that I want to make sure that you guys are holding everyone accountable and doing everything you can to make sure that 120 houses going in, all the water flowing to the other side has come off their drain, little tiny 10-foot pipe to the other side of the subdivision, and behind Darcy gets all the big retention ponds. To me, I don't believe the elevations and that, I mean, we've lived there, we know where the water runs, so.
All right, thank you. State your name and address again.
David Simeone, 2251 Bowden Drive.
Okay.
I'll keep this brief. I'm just generally disappointed in the Mayor Darcy's lack of communication and correspondence with the residents of Picardy, Warwick, and all of the surrounding subdivisions that may be affected by the construction and then, well, further existence of the proposed neighborhood. And generally, the fact that it is behind his own car lot and that there has been allegedly, this has been like in at least the thought process of having a neighborhood back there for a decent time. I heard at one point, I cannot confirm this, I'm speaking off the speculation, that allegedly it was going to be named Darcy Hollows at one point. And so I'm just, again, disappointed that even in previous meetings, he has to excuse himself from question rounds, and that we've not had any chance to communicate with him regarding this matter.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah. I live at 2912 Libby Ridge Drive, Joliet, Illinois.
You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you.
I'm just wondering why the detention pond has gotten smaller, if they're so worried about water. Because before, it was much bigger, and now it has gotten smaller. And I live directly behind there. All the water will be behind my home.
The park's bigger.
But the park is bigger, yes. So I'm just, what's the answer to that?
Can you address,
Or you guys, I guess whoever can answer that.
No, look.
City planner, maybe? It has gotten smaller.
Which detention pond are you talking about? 'Cause there's a few on the site.
One next to the park.
I live, pretty much my house will back up to the, I don't know, you have another map, but, basically top left it was. Well, they can't see it from here, I don't know, you guys want to look at the original map?
we have them.
Because, I mean, it just got smaller, so. And the park was farther into the neighborhood, and now it's butted up to Maria's yard. And they were saying that's the lowest spot, there's no other way they can move the retention ponds, but now they have a park there.
If you have more statements, you can make them now, and then we can ask him
Okay,
directly.
yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Do you have any answers? I know you're not the engineer. I know you're not the engineer about the
Yeah.
pond and everything.
Sure, so I don't know if it would be helpful to have the image of the overall development plan up again for the sake of conversation, but I just want to say that with respect to the off-site stormwater management infrastructure, which again is in the northeasternmost corner of the overall development plan, again, on the Heron Farm property, that topic is really kind of a red herring. We're proposing to do something that we have no obligation to do. You heard this afternoon the Deputy Director of Public Works tell you that it's not required by the city's ordinances. So while I wouldn't say that D.R. Horton believes it's a hero, it is unquestionably doing something that it's not obligated to do. And we're doing that in the spirit of cooperation. As I said earlier, in response to Commissioner Martin's question, in a worst-case scenario, the infrastructure gets installed and it's ineffective. The Picardy residents are no worse off than they are. In a worst-case scenario, the infrastructure never gets installed because the Heron Farm property owner has a change of heart and decides he doesn't want to be cooperative. Again, the Picardy residents are no worse off than they are today. Nothing about this project will detrimentally impact the Picardy residents from a stormwater management perspective. I can't speak specifically to the statement that the detention bond in the northernmost detention bond is smaller. What I can tell you definitively is that that is reconfigured specifically as a result of communications between D.R. Horton and the Plainfield Park District, which ultimately involves the conveyance or what will be the conveyance of the park site to the Park District once it is completely equipped with park furnishings.
So can you verify the capacity of the retention ponds or detention ponds?
Can I tell you that they're big enough to be able to accommodate the stormwater necessary
Yes,
for the
and
land plan?
yes, and have they gotten smaller since we approved it back in December?
So I personally cannot do that because I'm not an engineer. What I can tell you, yeah, I probably should have brought an engineer, but regardless, at the end of the day, this plan is, as I said earlier, in substantial conformance with the plan that the commission recommended preliminary approval for previously. Obviously, the city's engineering staff is here and can attest in a more educated manner as to the adequacy of the stormwater management improvements that are proposed. At the end of the day, there's a stormwater management plan set and then a stormwater management report, all of which is necessary to demonstrate the adequacy of the stormwater management system. There's no permit issued to be able to proceed in the absence of city confirmation as to the acceptability of those documents.
So what, so is it adequately the same as it was before for the drainage?
Generally speaking, the volumes seem to match or exceed what is required by our ordinance.
So the size that changed at the north end doesn't make a difference because it's picked up somewhere else?
Yeah, it could have been, I don't have everything right in front of me, but there's many factors that could have led to that. It could have been deepened, it could have been shifted a little bit. There's ways to account for the volume and move things around a little bit to meet the ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
I believe that what I've responded to is fully responsive to the comments I've heard, but I'm happy to address anything else you believe I may have missed.
I think that's all the questions, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I have
State your name and address, again,
Mary
please.
Alec, 2302 Belfry Drive.
Go ahead.
And I don't know, am I a cancer? Why nobody wants to look at, because we talking trees, lines, and still nobody has an idea by the drawing about the trees and lines, okay? Why? Why no one wants to look at it, please? Can I get an answer from anybody? Mayor is not here, so please give me the answer. Because I'm losing my patience by coming here. Nobody wants to look at it. Okay, I have the newest drawing. Supposedly, you can count the trees to 10. But if you compare that line, there is 2 lines of trees. There is at least 30, 40 trees. This gentleman read that all the necessary trees will be removed. He's saying that they're not gonna be removed. And where is the guarantee for it? That's what I like to know. Last time I was here, the retention, water retention was all along my yard. Couple days ago, the water retention is on the back of her yard. So if I hear promises I'm not 3 anymore. So, today is one thing, tomorrow is another thing. And I'm in court for at least around 30 feet deep into the farm. And how can that be approved if this property is his and mine, as far as I can tell, because the issue hasn't been resolved. And it's not gonna be resolved for a long time, as I told you people before. So it's really, for a long time, it was hidden in front of me, even my lawyer, that mayor was involved in it. If I knew mayor was involved in it, I would never be in this court. And I won't be. I will move to different court. Because I see what is going on. By being at so many meetings, mayor told me, I am stubborn Polish, that I must speak Polish. That's nobody's business. But I'm truthful, I'm right, and I tell the truth. And I don't dig holes underneath anybody. And I will get to the bottom of that, right and wrong and truth. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question. I'm sorry, I forget your name.
Yes.
Your developer. The trees in question, are those going to remain there?
Okay, so
The
I'm
trees
glad you're
she's,
asking this question because
the trees she's referring to in the back of her property line.
So I'm not sure that I fully understand which trees she's referring to. Let me attempt to respond to what Ms. Leck has just relayed to you. And by the way, just so you know, Ms. Leck and I have a very open, cooperative relationship. The sheets she was just holding, the plan excerpts she was just holding, she got from me. I provided them to her in the spirit of transparency. So again, what I'm about to state in part is not something that D.R. Horton is involved with, and as a consequence, it's difficult for me to speak in detail, but nevertheless, as I said earlier, Ms. Leck and the current property owner of the subject development site have a dispute as to ownership of a portion of the development site. That dispute comes, this much I can tell you, but again, it's difficult for me to get into the details because of D.R. Horton's lack of involvement with the matter. But that issue comes initially from what's called an ejectment suit, where the current property owner sought court action to compel Ms. Leck to remove a shed and a fence and a dog run from the property. My understanding is that she then countersued, claiming adverse possession, which is a legal concept that basically over a period of time, specifically 20 years with some other relevant elements, enables somebody to claim possession of land that they don't actually hold title to. So as I stand before you today, the owner, the title holder, legally, of the overall development site is an entity called Westside Joliet Real Estate LLC. Notwithstanding that, Ms. Leck has claimed and continues to claim, which I understand to be the basis of her statements before you this afternoon, that she has some right to a portion of the property and some trees in the property. As to your question, Commissioner Turk, regarding the trees, my understanding prior to just a few minutes before the city council meeting on Tuesday night was that those trees of concern were only around a shed and dog run and fence, which the property owner actually agreed to carve out. In fact, it's depicted on the plan and has been excluded from the development site to ensure that there's no complication resulting from the outcome of that suit. But minutes before the city council meeting, I came to the understanding that she is concerned about some additional trees lying west of that location, basically at the southern terminus of Gulfview Drive. But all of those trees are on the development site, and some of those trees will be preserved, some of them will be removed. There's a tree preservation and final landscape plan on file with the city, which depicts which trees will be removed and depicts where new planting will be added.
So just to sum up, that area where the trees are at, that is on whose property?
So all of the trees that Ms. Leck is concerned about are on the seller's property, which is the subject development site.
Okay.
The site that D.R. Horton is under contract to purchase for development of Prairie Land.
Okay, thank you.
As I said before, obviously I can't speak for the seller, but I would venture to state that the seller wouldn't have any expectation that he or anyone, as a subsequent owner of the property, would remove trees from any portion of land other than this development site. And obviously, D.R. Horton has no desire to do so either.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
You stated that they, that they moved one of the property lines because of this suit, did you say on the east side? Is that, I guess the part that's in question is on the east side of the property?
It is east of Gulfview Drive.
Of course, the north line of the
Along the northern
property
boundary.
is Picardy, right?
I'm sorry to interrupt. You say that again,
The
please?
north line of this property is Picardy.
Correct. The northern boundary of this development site is the southern boundary of Picardy.
So that, this portion that she's talking about, is that where it is on the north line?
It is along the north line
Okay.
on the development site.
All right, because I kept thinking what the adverse possession was over on the east side, you know, since Picardy was established already.
Yeah, I mean, again, the point being that the land area that I have always understood to be the subject of dispute on this basis of adverse possession was long ago carved out of the property that D.R. Horton is under contract to purchase, and that would ultimately be developed. So irrespective of however that suit works out, whether it ends in the current property owner's favor or Ms. Leck's favor, it has no bearing on this plan.
Okay, so that portion is out of the subdivision then?
Excluded from, correct.
Okay, so her court thing has no effect on the plans at all then?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right, I think motion's in order for PUD-13-24.
So moved.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Is that to approve?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't think we're done.
Everyone in attendance has made one round of comments, so the commission is free to have its own discussion and make a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
does this go back to the city council then?
Yes, this will go to city council for approval.
Yeah, because there's no new questions, they're all the same thing we're rehashing, so we're gonna vote on it.
What they said, is incorrect. But that adverse, that piece that's, for the adverse possession.
We already have a motion.
There's a motion on the table right now.
Motion on the table and to vote.
And a second.
Call the roll, please.
So to confirm, we have a motion to approve. Mr. Cox was our first motion, and our second motion was Mr. Crampton. Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Orlando?
Nay.
Ms. Radakovich?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Turk?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crampton?
Aye.
Chairman Kella?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. It will be tentatively scheduled for the April 17, April 15 City Council meeting. Please check the city's website, as that may be subject to change.
Thank you. Just to confirm, what you're ultimately saying is then the matter would be before the city council on a pre-council agenda on the 14th, and then the city council, a council meeting on the 15th?
Correct. Tentatively scheduled for pre-council on the 14th, City Council 15th of April. Yes.
What are the times?
Pre-council meeting is at 5:30 p.m. and the actual city council meeting is at 6:30 p.m. And there will be more information on our website as that agenda becomes available.
I'm not an attorney.
Means that they didn't take our original question.
Everybody that said yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Orlando.
So Next on the agenda is old business. There's none. Following that is new business public hearing, V-2-25, vacation of a sanitary sewer easement on Graywall Boulevard, Panorama Drive, and Springview Lane in the Vista Ridge subdivision at 8301 Caton Farm Road. The applicant for this case is Vista Ridge Development LLC. The status of the applicant is owner and developer. Requested action is vacation of a sanitary sewer easement on Graywall Boulevard, Panorama Drive, and Springview Lane in the Vista Ridge subdivision. Purpose is to remove the existing easement which conflicts with the proposed right-of-way for the Vista Ridge subdivision. The existing zoning is R2 single-family residential and R4 low-density multifamily residential zoning. The location is 8301 Caton Farm Road. The easement size is 2.34 acres. The existing land use is undeveloped. Under surrounding land use and zoning, to the north, single-family residential, R2. To the south, 1 and 2 family residential, R3. To the east, single-family residential, R1B. To the west, single-family residential, R1B. Under site history, the subject sanitary sewer easement is located within the proposed Vista Ridge subdivision. The easement was dedicated as part of the initial attempt to plat the subdivision in 2007 to allow for the extension of a sanitary sewer main from the Deer Crossing subdivision to the northeast, south to Caton Farm Road. With the proposed platting of the Vista Ridge subdivision, sanitary sewer facilities will be located within the right-of-way in the subdivision's 10 planned streets, therefore eliminating the need for the duplicative sanitary sewer easement that is currently in place. Under special information, as shown below in Figure 1 of the staff report, the path for the extension of Graywall Boulevard has been adjusted slightly from the geometry of the previously approved existing sanitary sewer easement. The developer wishes to remove the easement that would overlap into several lots along Graywall Boulevard and Panorama Drive, since the proposed sanitary sewer main line infrastructure would be located within the right-of-way. Public utility and drainage easements will be provided within the front 7.5 feet of newly platted lots to allow for additional room for utility beyond the proposed right-of-way. Additional public utility and drainage easements on the Phase 1 final and recording plats have been incorporated to allow for easement coverage over the sanitary sewer path that extends from Springview Lane and Caton Farm Road. Under analysis, approval of the subject vacation will reduce redundancy with the proposed right-of-way within the Vista Ridge subdivision and allow development to occur over the portions of the existing easement that overlap the proposed subdivision lots, and that concludes staff's report.
Maybe have the petitioner, please. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
State your name and address, please.
John Berry, 11 South 220 Jackson Street, Burr Ridge, Illinois.
Okay. Anything to add?
No, we understand the staff report and are in agreement.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission? Hearing none, nobody in the audience, so motion's in order for V-2-25.
Motion to approve. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Orlando?
Nay.
Ms. Radakovich?
Aye.
Ms. Rohr?
Aye.
Mr. Turk?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Mr. Crumpton?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
And Chairman Kella.
Aye.
That motion carries for a recommendation for approval. That will tentatively be scheduled in the April 15th City Council agenda. Again, check the city's website for further scheduling information. Next on the agenda is new business. There is none. Following that, new or old business not for final action or recommendation. There is none. Next on the agenda is public comment. Section is for anyone wanting to speak regarding non-agenda items and are allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none, the next item on the agenda would be adjournment. Motion for adjournment would be in order.
Motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.